We take you live now to the TTC Hillcrest complex where Mayor Olivia Chow is giving an update on the city's storm response. Let's listen in.
Knee-deep snow by hand to get the trains moving. Across the system, over 1,000 TTC workers are keeping stations and transit stops clear. They were helped overnight by city crews focused on clearing routes and stops for this TTC's morning's commute. To everyone here and across our operations, thank you for your hard work. Since yesterday's update, city staff and contractors have continued plowing nonstop. Toronto's Emergency Operations Centre has coordinated our unified response across all divisions and agencies, plowing operations, TTC, police, fire, and paramedics. We continue to have over 1,300 city staff and contractors mobilized, with 100 extra staff redeployed to support the snow response. And here's where we stand this morning. Overnight, we continue local street plowing and windrow clearing. But with 30 kilometers per hour winds, blowing snow has piled up again on some of the roads, so crews will need to make another pass today. And we've secured an additional snow dump sites in Etobicoke, bringing us to 6 sites across the city to store and melt snow. We are now moving to second phase, the snow removal. Our crews began shifting last night to remove the snow, and they are doing it around the hospitals. And over the next few days, this will expand, starting tomorrow, citywide. Crews will be going street by street, informing residents when the snow removal will happen on their block. Starting now and over the next 48 hours, our crews will begin picking up and hauling snow away from residential streets. City-run services are open today and operating as normal. This is good. Recreation centers, city-run childcare centers, libraries, they are all open. Warming centers remain open at 7 locations, including over 100 additional shelter spaces that opened last Friday. 3 streets outreach teams are helping people come indoors. For real-time updates on city services, visit toronto.ca/winter. 311 is available 24/7 for anyone who needs help. Please do call us. High priority calls, people needing help getting to medical appointments or facing other urgent issues are being completed very quickly. This is a major undertaking, and our city workers and contractors deserve recognition for the round-the-clock effort they've been putting in, from plowing to now removing snow across every neighborhood. They've been out there in the cold and wind, keeping our transit running, our street passable, our city functional. This dedication means Toronto can get back to normal. People can get to the jobs, kids can get to school, life can keep moving forward. And I've been heartened to see Torontonians stepping up for one another. Neighbors checking in, people clearing walkways for those who can't do it themselves. That's the Toronto caring spirit. As we move into the removal phase, there's more we can all do together. If there's a senior on your street who needs help, lend a hand. If someone's driveway is buried, grab a snow shovel. Small acts makes a big difference. To the hospital workers, transit operators, grocery clerks, and everyone else who's been keeping all the services going, you embodied what makes Toronto strong. We'll get through challenges like this together. I'll now invite City Manager Paul Johnson to talk about some operation details.
Well, thanks very much, Mayor, and good morning, everybody. When I spoke with the Mayor yesterday, I made it very clear to her that our operational goal yesterday was to make this morning's commute and journey to work, to school, and to other activities in the city better than it was on Monday morning, and I'm really pleased that we achieved that goal. Our expressways were functioning well this morning. Our arterial roads have more capacity thanks to the overnight plowing that we did to open up curb lanes. Our TTC colleagues, and I want to say a big word of thanks to them, worked tirelessly, as the mayor said, to make sure that transit was more operational this morning for that morning commute. So we continue to make progress as we work through this major snow event. As the mayor mentioned, these things happen in phases. And even pre the snow, we were out salting and brining to get ourselves prepared. We then entered into the plowing phase when the storm was happening and into yesterday and today. And now we begin the large task of snow removal. This will be an exercise that will take a number of days. It's an exercise where we'll need help from the public as we enter into this phase, and we'll continue to put out information about how you can help us when we come to the residential areas of the city to remove the snow that is ultimately going to be the difference between people really being able to move around and not. So thanks again to all of our public servants here at the City of Toronto who continue to work hard, whether they are on this snow event and helping us my tip of the hat to all of our Toronto public servants. And thank you, Mayor, for your leadership on this. And we continue to work through these phases to get Toronto back to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
We've been receiving a number of calls into our newsroom, and then I went out and talked to a number of people who were trying to traverse the sidewalks, and they say either they're not clear, or if they are clear, it's very narrow, it's very difficult to navigate. People are having a hard time. I saw people pushing strollers on roads and people with mobility issues. I mean, I know you're working on it, but what can you say to people who are still having a real hard time kind of getting through the sidewalks of the city?
We understand that in some of the spaces it's really quite narrow, and there's literally no space to put where there's snow, and then you add in the bins, okay? So that makes it really difficult, which is why the snow removal is really important. We will start with all the major roads, with the TTC stops all across the city. We'll remove snow all around that area first, and then we'll go into the local streets. I understand that it is difficult in some places. A lot of the sidewalk has been plowed, but there are remaining some areas that, because it is so narrow, it's making it very difficult to get through. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, the only thing I'll add is we are looking and using other types of equipment too, including cutters, that we can replace out the blades on the sidewalk plows to cutters, so that we can actually use it more like a snow plow, which may create a little bit of extra space. But as the mayor said, it's a competing snow pile situation here. We're trying to clear as much spaces as possible on those sidewalks for people to traverse. And the good news is we're further ahead this year in terms of overall sidewalk clearing. So the numbers that are that are unplowed entirely is much lower. In fact, there's very few in that case, but now we're going and dealing with the complaints and the concerns that are being raised about how we can widen those sidewalks, particularly in high traffic areas. So what we looks like to put up with this, kind of the narrow sidewalks until the snow clearing is kind of done? So I think people need to realize that we're continuing to do this in phases. So the first phase is let's clear it in some way so you're not traipsing through nearly 2 feet of snow in certain cases. The next phase will be widening it so it can be used by folks that may have mobility devices or strollers. And then the final phase will be the removal, which will actually increase the capacity across the sidewalk. So rather than saying, put up with it, I would say that, recognize what phase we're in right now. We're trying to keep people moving. It isn't at the full capacity yet, but we're going to get there in the next few days.
I want to encourage people that have difficulty, especially because they might be on a walker or in a wheelchair, to give 311 a call, and we have staff coming out to assist. And
I know you don't know how much it represents, but if you compare to last year where you criticized for your gestion of like the snow removal, is this one like twice as big? How, if you compare, like how huge is this operation that is upcoming?
So this is a larger amount of snowfall in 1 month than, say, we had in February. So people remember the February event. Well, a total of 3 events got us up to around the 55 to 60 centimeter range. With our 2 events in January alone, we're in some places up to 90 centimeters or more. So this is a bigger event now. I don't know where the season's going. I keep asking Mother Nature to give us a bit of a break for a while, but I'll wait back for that phone call. But the piece, the reality is that this us is more snow. It's why, as the mayor announced, we're looking at additional capacity. A little less for our city operations, but now we're helping out folks like the TTC who also have issues with the storage of their snow. So we're opening up more capacity. But the melters are fully operational, which is good, which we didn't have last year. So we'll be able to handle more capacity, but it is definitely bigger than what we experienced last February.
City manager can give you a comparison, but I know right now there's 6 sites where we could put the snow, and that we purchased 2 extra melters. It's like 6, 7, or a good number of melters, so that it can expand the capacity. And I'm not sure they were available last year.
No, so the difference this year is we have more melting capacity. Last year, the melters we had, some of them weren't functioning through some of the seasons, so it means when you're piling it there, you are going to get, it's like filling a glass, you're going to get to the top. So this year we can create some capacity by melting the snow, and with the extra capacity we have. The site that we're looking at, the 6th site, is a very large site, so it should be able to compare. I don't have a volume number for us. That'll be more as we get into the loads, we're able to estimate some of that. But to be honest, that's just the value of it. Our goal is to make sure we have the capacity, and talking to our operational folks, they said yesterday with the issues being experienced by the TTC in particular, so we can keep the TTC operating well, we needed to find a 6th site, and yesterday that was our goal achieved, and we'll be able to use that very soon.
Perhaps for the city manager, what the residents with street parking permits need to know, and you've talked about a bit of a grace period on snow removal lanes. Where are we with that? You get 48 hours notice, or you keep getting a ticket? What's the update on that?
So as we get into the snow removal piece, particularly for the residential permits and things like that, we'll give some more detail for people so they're aware. But what we do is we sign so people know that we're coming. And we may allow then for certain things to happen in parking where we're not worried about enforcement, because we may want all the cars to get to one side of the street, even though it may say no parking, so we can go down the other side of the street. But we'll make people aware. We actually go door to door knocking when we come to do the residential snow removal, so that will help people understand what's coming next. We do friendly towing as well if we need to, so we can get a car, and some people may just be away, so we can do the friendly towing if we need to as well. In terms of our snow routes, I would ask the public to adhere to that. There is no backing off the enforcement. We have priority areas to enforce. We're making sure, for instance, that the TTC streetcars are running unabated and things like that. But those snow routes, they remain in effect. The bylaw remains in effect because we are shifting into that removal, and our contractors will be out. We won't have a lot of time to say to folks, okay, now we're into it. Please stay off those snow routes so we can get them clear.
The new one is in the Etobicoke, all across the city, but
we'd have to get you. So in terms of the actual locations, I don't have them off the top of my head. So I'm sure we could follow up if you want to know where they are. But these are contracted sites that we have, and are able to take the steady rotation of dump trucks. I mean, the reality is this is a massive dump truck opportunity or operation, because they fill up pretty quickly. When you go down, especially with these types of snow piles, it doesn't take long for us to get the trucks filled. So we've got spaces where they can come in and out and dump the snow fast and get back onto the roads. They are spread a bit around where we do the removal, so we try and keep the travel distance down as much as possible. So certain areas may use certain dump sites. That way we can keep them going back to their routes as fast as possible.
At a TTC yard, so I'm going to ask you about the Eglinton Crosstown. A lot of reports surfacing that February 8th is the day. We know Mandy Blawley is speaking in front of the Region Board of Trade right now. If February 8th is the day for it to be open, is the city ready, is the TTC ready to operate the Crosstown? And you've been calling it for a long time, so this is a bit of a relief as well.
I believe the TTC is targeting to start the phase opening of Line 5. And the Eglinton Crosstown is a long time coming. I can't wait. I know it's in February and likely going to be on February 8th. I'll leave it for TDC to make that announcement. I've also hear that, but I understand that perhaps maybe Josh Cole can talk a bit more about the operation of it, but for the local residents and the businesses that are on Eglinton that have been waiting for so long, and it was their sacrifices that they've made. I hope the line opening will bring a lot of customers back onto Eglinton. They will revitalize and renew that whole area. The City of Toronto came in recently and paved Eglinton and made it very smooth. We did it very fast, actually. It was just very impressive how quickly Eglinton were able to be repaved, so that when the line opens, the whole area would feel that we are ready to open for business. Because a lot of the business owners that I've met in the area, they've been hurting.
Our Queen's Park reporter talked to Michael Lindsay yesterday one-on-one, and he said that he is concerned that there could be similar problems that we see on Finch on Eglinton. If you know that going in, is that a concern for you? Is that a red flag for you?
Thanks for that question. I think it's a good one. We've learned a lot from Line 6, and that's why, to the Mayor's point, as we target a February phased opening, we want to take a different approach. And so we want to make sure that, the opening is gradual, that we're actually bringing our customers along with us in kind of a feedback loop and using that feedback to improve performance. There's enhanced accountability that we're putting back on the owner, who is Metrolinx, and the maintainer, who is CTS. Also, of course, we want to make sure there's a more coordinated and enhanced communications approach. And I think the last part is that one of the key learnings is that full opening will happen when we see the results and the performance. It will not be a date on the calendar. It will be when we hit those milestones and we see the performance.
So what do you mean by gradual?
So we won't have full service so we're targeting this date in February. It won't be full hours yet when we open, and part of that is exactly from the learnings we've seen on other lines, where we want to make sure that we're stress testing it. Our customers are giving us feedback on that. We're pressing and making the accountability really clear for the maintainer. Just a reminder, we cannot touch or fix these lines. It is a private maintainer, and Metrolinx being the owner, and so we want to enhance and push a level of accountability on that, what we're learning as operators and what we're getting from our customers back to our partners to make sure that those fixes are happening. And so initially the service will not be the full schedule, but we're adjusting our bus schedules to make sure that it can meet those needs.
Just to understand the phase schedule, do you mean that there will be less frequent service? Do you mean that it will only be open between 8 and 8?
With a phased approach, it will be the duration, so the time of day that it's open. So it won't be open as long as it will be eventually when we've kind of fully stress tested, we've gotten that customer feedback, we've pushed back to the owner and maintainer. At that point, when we feel and we've demonstrated, and so it's not just let's pick a date, it is the demonstrated performance is there. That's when the hours begin to extend further and further. We'll have more details on that soon. What we're doing right now is we've adjusted our bus schedules, and so with more information in the coming days, we'll give a sense of that too. Key to all of this is to make sure that we have a really good and robust protocol for our customers to go on this journey with us, and to make sure we're using that, capturing it, and incorporating what that feedback is. And so that will be part of it, is a really enhanced customer communications effort.
Line 1 and Line 2 were shut down in the open air areas pretty much all day. Finch was shut down because of snow. It's likely that perhaps Eglinton Crosstown, when it's up and running here, a snow event will be shut down. Does the city, does the TTC need a better way to clear trash?
I'll let the city chime in too. So we recognize that this storm was unique, right? To get that amount of snow in that short period is not a common storm. But the fact is, the TTC does have track, some of it built in the 50s, that is exposed to the elements. And so while we wish we could turn back the clock and have that all covered, at times when you get that much volume of snow, it requires unpacking that snow around the critical infrastructure. And so what we've done and what we'll continue to do is add to that heating infrastructure infrastructure, so those key pieces are dealt with, and so that's happened now, and I think that's why we've been able to get back on track sooner this time, and we'll continue to impress those same learnings and our experience. I think I mentioned recently that we have 100 years plus of that operating experience on our partners, the private maintainer and the Metrolinx as the owner, to make sure they're adopting similar practices to make sure that open air rail is operational in the winter.
Mayor Chow, if I could just get you to comment on sort of what Josh Cole just said in terms of, are you hopeful that all these steps the TTC is taking will help to avoid kind of what we've seen on the Finch Western LRT? And I know I saw you mention Metrolinx a bunch of times, Josh. Is there a bit of jostling back and forth between who's responsible here, TTC and Metrolinx, and kind of, or are you guys working collaboratively? So both those things there.
Well, what I'm very encouraged is today, the tracks that are on our subway, that some of them are exposed, are working because we had 1,000 TDC workers and half of them knee-deep, digging it out overnight. And I have full confidence, yes, that it made it work, okay? So that people commute was relatively smooth, other than there was a minor issue is not because of TDC. So I have full confidence in TDC in how they operate. So as it comes to who's the operation, the people that are driving, I have full confidence. As to whether the switch will work, whether the heating device will work, that's really up to Metrolink, who's the owner of the line, and CTS in this case, which is the people responsible for maintenance. The TDC really does not have the capacity. We are not allowed to do the maintenance. So just same with the Finch line, it's Mosaic. So any infrastructure, anything that is dealing with fixing the tracks and the switches and the signals, all of that really belongs to Metrolink and their the private partners.
Last question, Snowfall, for snow removal, asking the public to do some things to help out. Is that mostly just moving their cars, or what are people what should they be expecting that you'll be asking them?
So yeah, I mean, as we get to an area, if we're removing snow in those areas, there'll be specific things that they'll be asked to do to help us make sure that that's as efficient and effective. And this is all about helping them to get their street back to what they expect, because I know parking's a premium, and if it's permit parking and things, people are saying, hey, we're paying for this privilege, let's get back to it. So we'll have a good sense of that as we go through today and start to publish that. Don't want to get that out too early, because of course this is going to take a number of days. So we'll also be talking about where in the city we're starting, how we're moving across the city to do the removal. In the meantime, clear the other areas that you're responsible for as residents in this city. Help your neighbors, as the mayor say, to do the same thing. And so I think if all that's clear around us, we'll be able to come down, clear what we need to clear, remove that, and get our roadways in those local areas back to where they need to be. So our goal today is to wrap up the plowing, get communication in order, so we can start in earnest with the removal starting tomorrow. So stay tuned. But right now, it's really take care of what you need to in terms of shoveling out, clearing out, maybe clear that car off, because at some point we're going to need those cars to move in order to make it. So if it's still under a pile of snow, it might be time to start to think about how you dig that out. Somebody told me it took them 5 hours to dig their car out. So if it's 5 hours, you might want to think about when that happens. But we're just getting ready. So I think the word to folks is be ready. We're shifting into the next phase. And if removal is something that's going to be happening in your neighborhood, start to get yourself prepared for that to occur.
We've been listening to city officials, including Mayor Olivia Chow, down at the TTC Hillcrest complex, giving an update on the city's massive storm response.